Did Puppet Biden, formerly the president, at least that's what they told us, sign all the things that he supposedly signed? There are big questions about this now. There's a story out there that Biden used the autopen signature on a lot of official White House documents. Now, before you tell this to your liberal neighbor, it's important to understand autopens are used by presidents and have been for a long time, especially if they have to sign a lot of things, right? And presidents have correspondence with the public, things like that. But for official policy, this raises some interesting questions, because we know that Joe Biden was not really of sound mind when it came to his presidency, certainly the last 2 years in particular. Did he even know what was being signed in his name? There's a growing body of evidence to suggest that something may be up here. There's a number of scans of different Biden signatures that don't match up. So this is I'm trying to find the group here. I think this is Heritage Foundation the Conservative Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project. And they, quote, divulged examples of Biden's signature on 2 executive orders that it surmised came from autopen, and contrasted that with an image of his signature on the letter announcing he was pulling out of the 2024 presidential contest. Biden's signature on the 2 executive orders essentially looked identical, while the signature on the letter about withdrawing from the 2024 race had slight differences, including the lack of junior at the end of his name. End quote. Okay, so there are some different signatures out there, and there's something going on here. Now, maybe it's just that they changed up the autopen or something. I don't know. I'm not an autopen expert. But it is valid to ask these questions because they lied to us about Joe Biden entirely, right? They told us that Joe Biden was of sound mind. He clearly was not. We all know this. There will be more and more stories that come out in the future about the efforts that the White House took to hide Biden's lack of cognition from the public. Those stories have started to come out, but I think there'll be a lot more. Someone is going to publish a book eventually, maybe in a few years, when there's a new Democrat frontrunner and nobody cares about Joe Biden anymore. And Joe Biden's very old, as we know. There'll be a book that comes out that lays out that Joe Biden was at different times, walking around with no pants on, saying that he was, the king of Siam or something, and that's that. And that they just didn't want anyone to know this. So they hid it from everyone and pretended like this kind of thing didn't happen. We have to take this seriously because we know that they lied about the dementia. And if there was any case of him signing something with autopen where he didn't really know what was being signed, that is essentially a form of presidential forgery, because the president has to know what's being signed. Right? It's one thing to use the autopen just so his hand doesn't get tired. It's another thing if the autopen was used to, like I said, commit what is essentially a forged signature in his name. And it also goes to Biden, the puppet president, who wasn't really running things as we know, and his advisors around him, who it seems very likely were the ones actually calling the shots. Well, we know they were calling the shots, but were they actually signing the docs? That's something that we should look into more. As Trump would say, we're going to look into it. Well, we are looking into it. And I think that's important. The fraud that was perpetrated against the American people when it came to Biden's ability to know what was going on is completely unconscionable. Yes, it has resulted in part in Donald Trump becoming president now. So they've paid some political price for it, but not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. What they did was reckless, and to pretend that Joe Biden ever could be really the president of the United States in his state was something that it's beyond politics. I mean, it is grotesque that they did this. So are there some things that will come forward that we think will further prove that these aren't really laws because he didn't really sign it? Maybe. But never forget what they did with Biden, the puppet, and the way that he was manipulated and how they manipulated us, too, how the media made sure that we weren't able to know what was really going on. That was all part of the game. Israelis want a normal life again, but with a ceasefire with Hamas terrorists on shaky ground, Israeli citizens are pensive. 15 months after the Hamas invasion and brutal attacks, there's apprehension for the future. Understandably, all the activities make an impact on the emotional well-being of the Israeli people, and Israel's hard work to return to a life of normalcy is underway. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews continues to support those in the Holy Land still facing the lingering horrors of war and those who are in desperate need right now. Your ongoing monthly gift of $45 will provide critically needed aid to communities in the north and south parts of Israel devastated by the ongoing war. Your generous donation each month will help deliver aid to those in need. You can provide hope during a time of great uncertainty with your gift. Bless Israel and her people by visiting supportifcj.org. That's one word, supportifcj.org, or call 888-488-IFCJ. And another place in Oregon, actually, two different places. This is both in Oregon. And in Massachusetts, Tesla charging stations have been set on fire. So these psycho libs are trashing anything Tesla related because they hate Elon so much. Just think about this for a second. These same libs, I almost can guarantee you, are terrified of climate change and think that climate change is an existential threat. I mean, they believe all of that nonsense. And I also think that you could make a strong case that Elon Musk, if you believe in climate change, when it comes to the electrification of vehicles and also battery technology, has probably done more and is doing more for the climate issue, to the degree there is an issue, which I don't think there is, but put that aside, the climate issue than any other human being alive. These same libs who think that the guy who is doing more to counter the existential threat in their minds of climate change, because he's helping Trump with something that they should also be in favor of, which is ending fraud, waste, and abuse, they're trashing his stuff and destroying private property because they lash out because they're babies. The truth is, the more you look into the mindset of the contemporary Democrat, the more emotional and psychological instability you will find that is really a defining trait of being a leftist, of being a Democrat, Biden, Kamala voter these days. A lot of people who can't handle the world as it is, and so they lash out and they pretend that the world would be great if only the people who are telling them that the reality about the world weren't in the way. Republicans, conservatives, people that believe in, masculinity, things like that. If only they would step aside, then everything would be fine. It's a very self-justifying and self-aggrandizing ideology, but that's what libs are all about. So yeah, they're attacking Elon. And this also is where you had Lucy Grace Nelson was charged because of crimes at a Colorado Tesla dealership. And all the reports about this, a lot of them had Lucy Grace Nelson as a she. Lucy Grace Nelson's a trans man, or trans, but a man. So it's a man. And they misreported this one. So yes, again, psychological, emotional instability and hating Trump, hating Elon. These things are very much related. This isn't just coming out of nowhere. So that's important to remember. Next week, I get to do something exciting with my dad, and you're all invited to join us. I grew up in New York City, where my dad made his living researching and predicting the stock market. He was good at it, too. In his line of work, you're a hero if your predictions come true. When they don't, you've got a fair amount of additional homework to do. Thankfully, he was right on the big ones. All that to say, next week, I'm hosting a video seminar with my dad where he'll make another big forecast on the markets. Write this date down, March 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. on the West Coast. It'll be online in video form and super easy for you to register free of charge online. Modesty aside for a minute, my dad created a name for himself on Wall Street by his predicting things in an uncanny way. The most notable, calling the crash of 1987, and then again calling the crash in 2009. His predictions are too numerous to mention, but the latest one comes on March 12th, so register for it online and see us an hour before this program starts that day. To sign up for the free event, go to disruption2025.com. That's disruption2025.com, paid for by Paradigm Press. And now they're going to freak out about the Trump economy, as you know. Oh, the stock market went down 4%, or the Dow, I think, went down 4%, so, or the NASDAQ, whatever. Now we're all supposed to freak out. Trump's ruining everything. Libs, you need to calm down. The libs need to calm down. Secretary Lutnick is on this. He says, look, guys, it's going to require a little bit of patience here for us to fix everything.
Anybody who bets against Donald Trump, it's like the same people who thought Donald Trump wasn't a winner a year ago. Donald Trump is a winner. He's going to win for the American people. That's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be no recession in America. What there's going to be is global tariffs are going to come down because President Trump has said, you want to charge us 100%? We're going to charge you 100%. And you know what they say? They say, no, don't charge us 100%. We'll bring ours down. We'll unleash America out to the world, grow our economy in a way we've never grown before. You are going to see over the next 2 years the greatest set of growth coming from America as Americans